to her quickly to see.
Yeah, of course.
Was it Maria?
Yes.
Okay.
If it's okay, maybe we can reverse the order of our agenda.
She's here. She's actually
she's
here.
here?
She raised her
Okay.
hand. Yeah, so I'm gonna.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Hi.
Sandy.
Oh, let me get my video going here. There I am.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good.
Okay, Maria, you're
Everyone's
here.
Maria.
Okay, Janice, I'll turn it over
Okay.
to you. We could start.
Sounds good. Okay, so hi everyone. I hope everyone enjoyed the holiday season and had a great start of the year. Before we begin, I always like to do this in the beginning of the meetings. Remember to mute yourselves unless called upon during Q&A. Then remember to unmute yourselves, and then feel free to utilize the chat feature, which is of course at the bottom of the screen. And also, we are being live streamed on YouTube, so you can always go back to the video and watch it for any of the information that's going to be shared today, especially any numbers or emails. Today, we have two events on our agenda. First, we will be joined by Stephanie and Maria, who from the Healing Center, who will present a program called Project Hope Bethsaida, which provides assistance to victims of sexual assault. And then we will be joined by the Executive Director of the Bay Ridge Center, Todd Flidner, who will give us an update on the progress of the new location at 15 Bay Ridge Avenue. So without further ado, I'm going to give the virtual stage to our representatives from the Healing Center.
Great, and I'd like to just share a PowerPoint.
Sure, you can. I gave permission to share, so you'll be able to do that.
Wonderful. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So I'm Stephanie. I'm here from the Healing Center. And we're a nonprofit organization. We've been in place for 22 years addressing family violence and abuse and sexual assault. But this current sexual assault program is new for our organization. We've addressed sexual assault cases in the past on an as-needed basis, but we're very excited to be launching a program to focus intensively on this. We're planning to offer court and hospital and police accompaniment, supportive counseling, resources, and other referrals to immigration services, other legal services. A lot of our clients face limited English proficiency and may have immigrated to the United States as adults, but we don't turn anybody away, and we'll work with anybody who's a victim of gender-based violence. I also have Maria on the call, who's our elder justice advocate, and she's been in the field for 25 years. She's a wealth of information. She's really amazing. So I'm very glad to have her here too. Maria, do you want to add anything to introduce
I just want to say good evening. I just want to make sure you can all hear me.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good evening. You know, I'm the elder justice advocate for the Healing Center, but I'm also a resident. And I'm also an older adult. So for a lot of reasons, I'm present here today. And it's just great to be back. It's great to be back.
Welcome.
Yes.
So I wanted to start just by talking a little bit about why it's important to talk about sexual assault. It's obviously a challenging issue and has the potential to make people uncomfortable. It's really normal when the topic comes up for people to close or to not want to get into the discussion, but recognizing and identifying and describing a problem is the first step to solving it. And you know, empirical studies have shown that what we feel shame about personally in terms of habits, we're more likely to keep doing. And I feel the same is true on a societal level, and the things that we can't look at continue. And that's why, you know, I'm really glad to be here. I'm glad we're having this discussion briefly. And I think knowledge is protective, and with each person here hopefully being armed with a little bit more knowledge about the topic, I think that goes a long way in terms of protecting our community and our society. And sexual assault particularly affects members of communities who are the most vulnerable. So for all of those reasons, I'm really, glad to be presenting on this. So what is sexual assault? Sexual assault has two elements to it: sexual contact and lack of consent. And you need both of these elements to consider an incident of sexual assault. So if you have sexual contact, but you also have consent, that's just sexual activity. It's not an assault. It's not the focus of this presentation. And similarly, if something occurs without consent between two people, but it's not sexual in nature, it may still be a crime. It may still require intervention, but it's not specifically a sexual assault. So to define something that way, you need both elements. And consent is made up of these 5 characteristics. It's freely given, enthusiastic, specific, informed, and reversible. And these are the discussions that we're starting with our program. And even though, to some people, these things may seem, to me, I've been in this field and these things, feel natural, but it's really, it's very striking how non-intuitive it is in so many of the spaces where it's most needed. So I guess I just want to check quickly, do people feel familiar with this? Is it helpful to go over, or is this?
I think it's really important to go over and read and make sure that we're all aware of what consent is, because sometimes people aren't very clear on it, even though some of us think that it is a very clear topic. So it's always worth reviewing for everyone.
All right. So freely given, this means, to consent to something. Someone's not just saying yes, they're saying yes without force. They're saying yes without coercion. They're saying yes without threats made to their safety, made to, without risk of consequence if they were to say no. And it's also freely given without incapacitation, without drugs or alcohol impairing somebody's ability to make decisions about what they truly want to be doing. It's enthusiastic in that, again, someone's doing not only what they think they should be doing, they're doing what they genuinely want to be doing. Consent is specific. And so that means that just because someone's consented to one element of intimate activity doesn't mean that they've consented to everything that might encompass. So somebody might consent to kiss another person, but they may still be, vulnerable to assault if, the intimate contact is then pushed further, and the fact that they consented to something at an earlier stage, doesn't negate the lack of consent later on. Consent's informed, so to agree to something, you have to know what you're agreeing to. Even if someone says yes, if they're misinformed about what that yes is actually committing them to, then that's not consent either. And lastly, consent is reversible. So if someone agrees to sexual contact in advance, but when the time comes doesn't want to, or during the interaction doesn't feel comfortable going through with what they had originally said they were comfortable with, then any further sexual contact is an assault happening without consent. And sexual assault affects everyone. It affects men, women, children, older adults, and vulnerable members of our society. Women are more likely than men to be sexually assaulted. You can see here 46.8% of women report sexual assault within their lifetimes, and 24.8% of men report the same. So on the one hand, women are more vulnerable to this form of assault, and that warrants attention. And at the same time, 24.8% of men is still not a negligible statistic. This still affects men. Men are still vulnerable to sexual assault, and men face specific barriers because of the fact that, this is thought of as a women's issue. 50 to 66% of transgender individuals report sexual assault within their lifetimes. One gap in current literature is distinction between individuals who are transgender and identify as male or female in comparison to individuals who are gender nonconforming, and how that impacts rates of sexual assault. But we do know that this group overall is at increased risk of assault of this kind. Next, I want to talk about children, and after this, elders. I want to focus on these two groups because these are two of the most vulnerable groups in our society and two of the groups who are least able to protect themselves. And I feel because of that, that it warrants specific attention to think about how we can protect these groups that can't protect themselves the way other groups may, to some extent, be able to. And sexual abuse of children is very common. Approximately 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 13 boys have experienced it. I also want to drive home that children can never consent, going back to the definition that we went over. A child is always experiencing a power imbalance with the adults in their lives. And because of that, they can never freely give consent without any degree of coercion or, lack of power in the situation that they're in. And they also can't comprehend fully what they're agreeing to and what the impact of it will be on them, even if they do state that they're okay with a sexual activity. Even if a child states that it's okay with them, even if a child requests sexual contact, a child can never consent. I want to also touch briefly on signs of sexual abuse in children. These include scratches, scrapes, or bruises in the genital or rectal regions. Changes in toilet habits is one that a lot of people are not aware of. But if a child who was previously comfortable using the toilet becomes unable to do so or unable to control their bladder, that can indicate abuse because stress in that area of the body can affect muscle control. There can be other reasons for this as well. So very few of these are certain indicators, but they're all things to look out for. Symptoms of sexually transmitted disease is a strong indicator because children can't consent and because this is such a clear sign of sexual contact. Drawings or games with sexual aggressive or morbid themes, particularly if they include sexual content that's beyond what you would expect a child of a certain developmental stage to be familiar with. Changes in behavior. So if a child who was previously happy and outgoing becomes withdrawn, that can be an indicator as well. And lastly, having gifts or trinkets without an explanation of where they came from can indicate that an abusive person is present in this child's life. Older adults, similarly, are vulnerable because they're at increased risk of being physically frail and experiencing cognitive decline. And perpetrators against older adults are typically younger and in better physical condition. These can be family members, caretakers, and one 2019 study found that 2.2% of older adults had experienced sexual abuse specifically within the past year. But this issue is also, severely neglected by empirical data, by activists. It really doesn't receive the attention it deserves, and because of that, it's another gap in current literature. And many of the same signs of abuse in children that we talked about already apply to adults. So physical indicators that sexual contact has occurred, STDs, scrapes, blood, and changes in behavior is another sign to look out for, particularly if an older adult becomes suddenly scared or uncomfortable around a specific person. And, this would hopefully go without saying, but a report of abuse from an elder is a strong indicator of abuse. And too frequently, this is overlooked and ignored because elders tend to experience cognitive decline and because symptoms of dementia can include paranoia and confusion or false beliefs that someone is threatening or harming them. reports by elders are often dismissed, but that makes them extremely vulnerable to abuse and is one big factor in why they're targeted, because they're less likely than other groups to be believed. The last form of abuse I want to touch on is human trafficking. This is a huge topic, and it's really, it warrants its own hour-long presentation. I just want to briefly say that the use of coercion, force, or fraud to obtain sex or labor for commercial purposes is the definition of human trafficking that we operate on. And I wanted to go over a couple of signs of human trafficking as well. Blurred boundaries with the people in someone's life can be a strong indicator of human trafficking. So if somebody lives with their boss or has a boyfriend who they also work for, that can be a strong indicator. A number of these can also be signs of domestic violence. So again, none of these should be taken as firm proof of human trafficking, but they're just things that, we might consider if we notice. Discomfort or refusal to speak without another person present, excessive deference to a third party or lack of ability to make their own decisions, and lack of access to their own money, documents, or personal possessions. And these generally, I think, can be characterized by lack of agency or ability to make their own decisions and exert autonomy in ways you would normally expect someone to be able to. The last thing I want to talk about is, post-sexual assault, what people tend to experience. It's very normal for victims to experience overwhelm, shame, disconnection from the body, lack of emotion, confusion or mental fog, and other symptoms of trauma. It's a very long list in full. And I wanted to end with just a note about interacting with people who have experienced trauma, because it's very common for traumatized people to be misunderstood. There are a lot of very interesting studies about the effect of trauma on the nervous system that show that when an experience is too overwhelming to be fully processed while it's happening, it affects the nervous system in a very specific way. Right now I'm on this call with you all and I'm all here, and when the call's over, I'll leave and go to dinner and I'll be out of this experience and on to the next one. But in a traumatic experience, when someone is too overwhelmed to be fully present with what's happening, a part of them doesn't fully process it and therefore can't let it go and move on to the next thing. So there's a lot of really interesting research that shows that a part of someone who's experienced severe trauma, typically, somatically is the way this is expressed, experiences the event as though it's still happening. And because of that, traumatized people are vulnerable to triggers. They might, particularly if something reminds them subtly of a traumatic event, might become angry or overwhelmed or numb or indifferent to what's happening. And, I just wanted to say, if you're interacting with a traumatized person and they react this way, it's really important to remember that it's not about you. And it can be very easy to make it personal, but these are symptoms of trauma, and it's really essential to create a sense of choice and to uplift a traumatized person in making their own decisions about what is best for them, and to respect their boundaries and help to reinforce that the present, hopefully, is safe, to create a sense of safety in that. And I don't know how closely anyone here interacts with people who have experienced trauma, but I think these are things that are important for anybody to know. So that's the presentation.
Thank you so much for that presentation. If anyone would like to reach out to the project, is there a number or an email address that people can reach out to?
Yes, absolutely. I will put my personal email address in the chat box.
Okay.
My R key doesn't work, so I have to copy and paste it.
Very good. Does anyone have any questions while she is doing that? Let's see.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, while Stephanie's wrapping up, I just want to put it out there that if any of these subjects or or issues you're interested, or anyone in community would like this to be a conversation, whether it be at a faith-based community, whether it be at another senior center, and you want us to come out and do presentations, community presentations. We do a lot of work in the faith-based communities. And again, I'm the elder justice advocate. And I really like to talk to older adults about ageism and how ageism impacts our lives, not just around elder abuse, but throughout our everyday lives. And so I would love to open up these kind of conversations and make sure that older adults are safe wherever they go, and that they're not being discriminated because of their age. So I just want to put that out there. And thanks, Stephanie. Thank you. This was her very first presentation with the Healing Center. So it wasn't, it was good, Stephanie. I'm really, really proud. I was here really as support, not to really co-facilitate, but good job, Steph.
Yes, it was a really great presentation with lots of important information, actually, that we should all know and continue to share.
Yes.
Yeah. Are there any other questions for Stephanie or Maria? Josephine, I see you're unmuted. Do you have anything to add?
No, I was just, I thought it was an excellent presentation, and we'll certainly look forward to, continuing our work together. And, should we need to provide referrals, we appreciate that you're there for us here at CB10.
Right. And, any older adults that need to speak to an advocate, that's what we're here for, okay?
Mhm.
Send them our way.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so then we will move on to our second presenter today, Mr. Todd Flitner. You can take the virtual stage.
Thank you. Actually, I want to just follow up on the Healing Center. We started a very exciting new program recently, self-defense for seniors. And we're actually teaching seniors simple ways that they can protect themselves if they are in a situation, sexual or robbery, and I just think it's really cool that we are addressing issues like this, because we like to think we live in a very safe community, but unfortunately there are people out there who, are threats. So anyway, so check it out. That's something that my main reason for being here tonight is to bring you up to date on 15 Bay Ridge Avenue. So I'm going to start my PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, let me mute myself.
Okay. So in a nutshell, our mission is helping seniors live their best lives. And I think that's great. We've been around since '76. We deliver comprehensive services and programs to adults 60 plus. And, our reach is growing. We serve Bay Ridge and the surrounding neighborhoods of Sunset Park, Port Hamilton, Dyker Heights. And we are a growing network of services. The new center location is 15 Bay Ridge Avenue. We are hoping to open in late summer. I would say September is more likely. We have our Bay Ridge Connects North space on 7609 3rd Avenue. We are going to be the supportive housing services provider for the new senior housing complex opening at 6309 4th Avenue. The lottery is underway now. So if anybody wants information on that, let me know. But that's in Sunset Park, so we're broadening our reach. And our food services will stay at 6935 4th Avenue. We're going to continue to do our Meals on Wheels there, home delivered meals. We serve over 650 a day. And actually the meals service for 15 Bay Ridge Avenue will originate at 6935 4th Avenue. One of the reasons we've done this is because if we were to have moved food services to the new space it would probably have eaten up a quarter of the space. We need that space for programming and services. So Bethlehem Lutheran has been kind enough to let us keep our operations there. The good news is that when we move out, the Healing Center will have expanded room to help with their programming and services. So we're excited about that for them. Our highlights in 2022, we served over 100,000 on-site grab and go and home delivered meals. We did a lot of evidence-based wellness services to enhance our constituents' physical and mental health and bolster their quality of life. Our exercise, arts, and technology classes are delivered in person, virtually, and in hybrid formats for clients to stay engaged with their friends. And we did a dedicated COVID assistance initiative last year, which provided education, coordinated appointments for vaccinations, and subsequently boosters. And we facilitate transportation for clients for all of these services. So I think that was a really great thing, because even though we're a lot different than we were 3 years ago, COVID is part of our present still. As I'm sure you all know, who live in Southwest Brooklyn, we're home to approximately 43,700 adults age 60 plus. We're one of the largest older adult populations in all 5 boroughs of New York City. And the growth is projected to grow 45% by 2030. In response, Bay Ridge Center is expanding its capacity to meet that rising need. And something else I want to share with you, one of the reasons Department for the Aging, which by the way is now going by New York City Aging, that's what they're now calling themselves. One of the reasons we were able to get this contract that has allowed for the move is because of these projected growth in Southwest Brooklyn. They did a concept paper prior to us applying for this RFP, which they cited, Southwest Brooklyn as one of the areas that was going to need so much more enhanced services by the year 2030. So basically, we just fed that back to them, and it helped us get this new contract and will allow for our move. Did you know that 96% of New York seniors plan to remain in New York City after retirement? So they want to age in place. And we were unable to do that where we are because of our space needs. And by the way, you should note that all these pictures were taken pre-COVID. We would never congregate that closely now. But
I'm going to interrupt I'm going to interrupt for a slight moment. Are you sharing your presentation?
Oh my God, you're not seeing anything?
No, I didn't want to interrupt before, but now that you're mentioning pictures, let's maybe.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Oh,
very
so
nice.
sorry.
Okay, sorry.
I was just so jazzed that I was off and running. So anyway, our lack of space at our current location has been a growing obstacle to expanding our older adult services, particularly in meeting the discrete cultural needs of our community. We're a community of a lot of different cultures, and we don't have the space to properly serve all of these groups in the capacity that we would like to. So, voila, the new Bay Ridge Center at 15 Bay Ridge Avenue. So a lot of you are familiar with the building. It was an insurance agency at one point. Josephine, was it MetLife or was it Prudential? I think it was MetLife.
It was MetLife, yes.
Yeah. Basically, the building has been gutted by the landlord, and we are going to build it out per the specifications for the newest adult center. Now, we took delivery of the property in December. What does that mean? What that means is before we took delivery, we had to make sure that everything the landlord promised was going to be done on his dime was done. We ran into 2 key issues with that. One, do you remember that horrible torrential rainstorm we had in September that woke us up at 4 o'clock in the morning? Well, as a result of that rainstorm, some groundwater came up, which we considered a blessing in disguise, because if we had already been laying the floors and what have you, this would have been a major problem. The landlord stepped in and immediately did remediation work on the space. They did trenches, and we now have a sump pump, a French drainage system. So anyway, all of this delayed things a little, but obviously we're happy for that because now we have a property that hopefully will not see any leakage issues once now that we are in possession of it. The other main issue that we've dealt with is our HVAC system. Because this was primarily an office building before, there really wasn't sufficient HVAC capacity for its operation as an older adult center. So when our engineers came in, basically they told us we were going to have to double the capacity of the HVAC system. As I'm sure we can all agree, in this age of airborne viruses, that was absolutely essential. So anyway, these things were taken care of, and now we have officially taken delivery of the space. The new space, well, this is just kind of saying, yeah, we were awarded the contract. We're renovating. It's 21,000 square feet. The anticipated opening after build out is mid 2023. It will allow us to increase our service capacity by 300%. That is huge. And it's located on multiple major bus routes, which one of them may be going away, as Josephine has been, I'm sure, sharing with you all. But it's within a block of Alshead Park, Narrows Botanic, and the New York City Ferry Pier. There are actually views of the water from the new space, which is really, really exciting. Our design features, it's going to be respectful and dignified, safe space for all older adults, with a spacious dining room cafe, or multi-purpose room, as we like to call it. We are going to have a dedicated fitness studio with advanced exercise equipment designed for older adults. Now, basically, what we are getting is equipment that is being offered in no other community-based facility in the entire country. It's only available in rehab centers now. It's equipment that is designed without hydraulics, with helping seniors build their strength and also work on balance. The machines remember the senior. The machines adjust to each individual. They have a key card. It's all state of the art, and it's all like the first of its kind in the United States of America, which we're very excited about. It's going to have a technology learning lab, dedicated classroom for arts, education, music, and performance classes, and finally, private offices for case management and counseling. You know, one of the things that has always bothered us is we couldn't give our older adults the privacy that they deserve when they're talking about, you know, sensitive issues. And we're going to be able to do that most successfully in the new space. Design elements include a quiet space for mediation and support groups, solar paneling, charging station for hybrid and electric vehicles, because we are in the process, within the next 10 years, we would like to convert our entire fleet of vehicles, that would be our hotshots for our home delivered meals, as well as our buses, to either hybrid designs or eventually completely EV transportation, which is the wave of the future. A uniquely designed outdoor space, as I said earlier, state-of-the-art HVAC and filtration, sprung flooring to lessen the impact for adults, on their beings, and ergonomically tested furniture for older adults. So Marianne Coughlin, who is our main exercise person, she helped us choose every piece of furniture. Every piece of furniture in the new space has been chosen because of its receptiveness for the clients. You know, I have an almost 93-year-old dad, and when I see him trying to, raise himself from a chair or a sofa, they're always looking for something to brace themselves with. So, handles, the right height, there are just so many factors that go into age-friendly furniture you wouldn't believe. I had literally hours of meetings choosing the right furniture. And of course, will be handicapped accessible and ADA compliant. This is just a rough layout of the first floor. If you'll see on the right, almost the entirety of the right is going to be dedicated to exercise. There's going to be the room for the weight training, and then our regular classrooms. The light blue area here is all of the multi-dining and multi-purpose space. That's where they'll eat. Our clients will eat. We're going to have a small food prep area because, like I said, the food will actually be prepared off-site. We're going to have so many bathrooms, it's not even funny. And if you saw our space now, you'd know the lines for bathrooms are ridiculous. And that was one of the first things we addressed in the new space, that we had plenty of space for that. On the second floor, we're looking at, these are the same, somebody put the wrong slides in. Anyway, just to let you know, the second floor will have a dedicated art room, a dedicated music room, a computer lab, meeting room, which we're going to open to community members. Community Board 10 could hold their meetings at Bay Ridge, 15 Bay Ridge Avenue once we open. And of course, our administrative offices, because our staff does need space as well. So serving underserved communities, we're going to feature, once we move, diverse multicultural programming with sensitivity to religious and cultural mores, a greater engagement of younger, older adults. So basically, we have been charged with serving adults from 60 to 106. I mean, we have that huge range of clients. So obviously what a 60-year-old and a 96-year-old are interested in are two different things. We'll now have the space so we can simultaneously do programming and really engage our younger adults better and our older adults as well. Inclusive programming for LGBTQ plus seniors and programming with adults for adults with special needs. I've been meeting with the Guild for Exceptional Children. We would like to involve them in many ways and make sure that they get the services they need as well. Basically, we're harnessing the energy and expertise of the area's fastest growing population. Let's see. Oh, excuse me. I have that cold that refuses to die. Anyway, we're also going to have expanded, transportation services. We're going to triple our transportation capabilities to better accommodate inclusion of older adults throughout the district to and from the new facility and our satellite locations, and integrate hybrid and EV vehicles into our transportation fleet, as I mentioned earlier. So we are thrilled to have so many, partnerships. These are just a few. Of course, CB10 is one of our treasured partnerships. And we're going to harness the energy and expertise of the area's fastest growing population with intergenerational initiatives and programming, civic engagement, very, very dear to Josephine Beckman's heart, and volunteerism, entrepreneurial education and opportunities. We have a lot of really talented artists and what have you. We're going to show them ways to monetize their talents, and also workforce development, because a lot of our seniors are still working. Anyway, I would like to invite you all for our groundbreaking ceremony, which is going to be Wednesday, February 22nd at 9 a.m. at 15 Bay Ridge Avenue. We'll have a lot of our local politicians there, and I will take you on a personal tour. Excuse me, Josephine has seen the space. She'll tell you how great it is. And we're just really glad to finally be able to move on this project because we know how important this is to Bay Ridge. Any questions? Yes.
Go ahead, Jill.
Wow. Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. Sounds amazing. I'm excited for all the seniors, including my mom in the community. So February 22nd is the groundbreaking. So when will it be open to the seniors?
We're hoping by August, September.
Okay, so I might have missed that. So my only question is this: I know that there's going to be support groups, and that's amazing. But are there going to be any licensed therapists or people that our seniors could maybe use their insurance or to help them with Yeah.
Yes, Jill, it's very interesting that you mentioned that because we are talking to a number of local physical therapists to eventually bring that service to Bay Ridge Center. Yes. Yeah.
Great.
We'd like to, I discovered acupuncture a year ago. That's something I'd like to introduce our seniors to. We're having a dedicated health and wellness room that we want to do, yeah. So, but definitely.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then we also have a question, if the charging stations that you mentioned are open to the seniors, or are they just for staff and the
Well, we
centers?
really haven't decided that yet, Jenna. But I would imagine that we would like to make them available to community members if possible, because green energy is something. If somebody wants to take advantage of it, I can't imagine we wouldn't find a way to make that work.
Sounds good. I'm very excited about the building. It looks great.
And like I said, to our community groups out there, we really do want this to be a place. We will be there a finite amount of time, and obviously we want it to truly be a community facility. So, please reach out to me. Everybody, I hope, knows where to find me at this point. If not, you can ask Josephine, she'll tell you. But yeah. And any of you who can't come to the groundbreaking but would like a personal tour, I am more than happy to facilitate that for you. So please, I'd love to. I'm so excited about this. You have no idea.
Thank you. We have a question from Ruth.
Yes, Ruth.
Howard, hi. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Very thrilled. Is there any parking?
Okay, so there is parking. We actually have a private parking lot. Obviously, a lot of it will be for our vehicles. So we have yet to determine exactly how much space we can make available, for members or that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay, now I was thinking about meetings.
Oh, absolutely. At night, in other words, if we were to loan you the space, say in the evening or on a weekend, we would certainly make the parking facility available for you. Absolutely.
Great.
And it's gated, it's protected. It's really cool. Let's all face it. Parking in Bay Ridge is it's a definite selling point.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I think
Well,
we have
I'm
the
very
capacity
excited.
for 30 parking spaces. So even after we park
Wow.
our vehicles, oh yeah, it's a big parking lot.
Oh,
Yeah, that was one of the reasons we like this location so much.
Okay.
great.
And please come out if you can on the 22nd. It's going to be very exciting. Like I said, we're going to have a major announcement from one of our politicians. We've been going after them for money for this project, obviously, and we've got exciting news to share that day in terms of funding.
Very exciting. Our next question is from Maria.
Hello, Mr. Todd. My question is, will my current membership carry over to the new place?
Absolutely. The truth of the matter, Maria, is if you have membership at any
I do.
No, but if you have membership at any older adult center in the 5 boroughs, it's reciprocal no matter where you go.
Okay, I'm very excited.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Josephine, do you have anything to add?
No, I just want to say thank you, Todd, for the presentation, and the new place is just incredible. And I'm very excited for the team at Bay Ridge Center who conceptualized this I feel so long ago, and it's here. And soon it'll be open to serve so many seniors in need.
Thank you.
And I'm excited about the project and looking forward for us all here at CB10 to have a senior issues committee meeting in the new place. Hopefully, in
Yes.
fall. Yeah.
It'll be very exciting. And make sure, if you guys can attend the groundbreaking ceremony on February 22nd and get a personal tour. Sounds very exciting. If there aren't any other questions, we are at the end of our meeting. Anything to add last minute, going once, going twice? Okay, so that's the end of our meeting. Again, you guys can always look back to this on YouTube, and I will see you guys in our next meeting.
Great.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you. Good night.
Everybody